So I guess I finally had to let Blake on the show. He's been asking me for months, every day, sending me DMs on Twitter, saying, Craig, can I please come on your show? Can I please come on your show? And I ended up relenting, even though I've got other people who are waiting to come on that are more important than him. So, yeah, I guess this is Blake, Emal, Email, however you say his name. Here we go. I nearly forgot to record it then. Are you not going to talk now? Are you just going to sit there?
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for you to say something good about me. You can't pronounce my name correctly. You say that I'm begging to come on the show. Like, come on, man. Gosh.
I mean, you've got nice hair. I like your hair color.
Thanks. Appreciate you. You like the background?
It's beautiful. I mean, it's me. So yeah, it's beautiful. I need that actually. I want those eyes. I want those rainbow eyes for my Twitter.
It's pretty good. Take a screenshot. There you go.
I'm kind of in the middle of trying to stream something here. You know, I'm kind of busy. I've got loads of things going on. Like I said, I nearly forgot to record. So yeah. So, what's going on? How's things?
You know, pretty busy. Things are going well. I can't complain, honestly. Like, got copy AI going on and float, and I've got like 1,000 kids too, and so it's a busy time, but enjoying myself as much as I can. Pretty tired most of the time. If you got any tips for that, I'll take them.
Get 8 hours of sleep every night.
Yeah, it's not possible.
Get 7 hours of sleep every night.
Maybe, yeah, I might be able to do that. Yeah.
So these bots that you're buying to increase your Twitter following seem to be doing pretty well as well.
Yeah. So if for anybody that's looking for a way to quickly grow on Twitter, Fiverr is awesome. Just go on Fiverr, buy a bunch of followers. You really can't go wrong. That is how Craig got his first like 5,000 followers, and then I think it's been organic from there though. You've been doing pretty well since. Are you even at 5,000? I mean,
no.
I'd like never look at your account. So.
No, I don't look at the numbers either, apart from your numbers, just so I can make that joke about Twitter bots.
Yeah, no, it's been a crazy little week here. I think I've gone up like, 6,000 or 7,000 the past week and a half.
Wow, really? What the hell happened?
So what I did was I clicked on your profile and went into your follower list, and I just started poaching everybody. So that's why your followers have started leaving, because I'm sending persuasive DMs to follow me instead of you, because I'm just obviously a better version of you. Yeah. So that's been working really well. I've got like 6 or 7K. In all honesty, I started doing like Twitter threads, and I just had a few that really took off and did well. I had one tweet. So this is funny enough. I had last week, 7 days in a row, did a Twitter thread. My worst one was probably 400 likes. So it did pretty well there, but those were really high quality and they drove a lot of new followers. I just had a tweet on, 2 days ago that got 30,000 likes. It literally didn't get me any followers.
Wow.
So the threads are way more valuable for me, at least. And this is coming from, if anybody knows me at all, I don't like doing threads, and I've never liked it, and I've never been super good at them. So this is truthfully me coming to you saying that threads are actually working. And I hate that, because I didn't want them to work. It's so much work and effort and a mental strain, but that's been working. But yeah, then I had like this one tweet just really take off and get 30K likes and almost 12K retweets. Didn't do anything. the threads were pushing like 5,000, 10,000 people to my profile. This one only pushed 1,000 people to my profile, period. And it had at least like, well, basically like 30 times the amount of likes. So disproportionately not a helpful tweet, even though it looked really cool on my timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, if you're asking if anybody knows who you are, they don't. So we'll leave it there.
Right. That's true. Yeah, you don't know who I am.
So you should probably say who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Blake. I am Craig 2.0. I'm not a designer. I am a marketer, so we don't actually do the same stuff, but we he's my arch nemesis. It works out well. I think a large part of our growth has just been from the back and forth hatred. But yeah, I'm the CMO of Copy AI, if you've heard of Copy AI, and I am building Float, which is a course creation or course builder on top of Notion. So you can basically take your Notion docs and automatically translate them into a fully operational online course. And it takes seconds to do that. So I'm really excited about that one. And yeah, I mean, that's really me. At Hey Blake on Twitter. That's where I spend most of my time. Too much time.
How long have you been doing marketing now?
7 years. Yeah. And it's been like, I started in SEO and then I've gotten more general from there, which is weird. Like usually people start out and just be like, oh, I'll try a bunch of stuff. And then they find the thing that they really like. But I started out in SEO and I kind of hated it for a long time. For 3 or 4 years, I vowed to myself that I was just doing this to get through college. Cause I got married pretty young. And so I had responsibilities and stuff and I had to pay the bills, but I didn't really like doing SEO at that time. But over time, it really grew on me. So for the first like 4 years, I was committed to not doing marketing for my career. And then something clicked and I realized it was pretty cool to be able to mix creativity, strategy, analytics, all that stuff into one thing. And I realized that I'd have a huge advantage, even if I didn't want to always just be a marketer. If I wanted to be an entrepreneur and build my own thing, that skill set would help me immensely whenever I wanted to launch something. And so that's proving to be true now. And it's been super, super helpful, but I do love marketing as well now. It just took a long time to get there.
Is that where your bitterness towards me comes from, being in SEO for 4 years?
No, I just genuinely don't like you. I don't know what it is. Those people in life, it's just like, I don't know what it is about that guy. I just want to punch him in the face. I don't know. I feel like you're smug. You're wearing a Jacksonville Jaguar jersey. Have you been to Jacksonville, Florida in your lifetime?
I've been to Florida.
Have you been to Jacksonville, Florida?
No.
You don't even like American football, do you?
I used to play American football.
In America?
In England.
That doesn't count.
Well, why does that not count? It was American football.
True football, you mean? Real football.
Yeah, not that soccer shit. Proper football. Yeah,
So are you legitimately a Jags fan? Because I know that they do play over in the UK every year, basically, right?
I used to watch NFL quite a lot when I played it. I played it from since I was about 15 till I was about 28 or something like that. And when I used to play it, I used to watch it. And originally the Falcons were my team back in Michael Vick days, those kind of times. Uh-huh. And then, yeah, obviously the Jags were one of the most popular teams who started playing in the UK. And they I guess they became the adopted English team for a lot of people, even though they mostly don't do very well. But they became the adopted team. And then towards the end, when I was playing American football, there was a guy, I don't know if I should say this live, but anyway, here we go. There was a guy who could get hold of knockoff jerseys like this. So these are all knockoff Chinese jerseys, and they were like 20 quid or something like that versus £60 that they are in the UK.
Yeah.
So I just got a whole bunch of them. So I've got a Jags one, Seahawks one, and it was just when they first started making these really cool jerseys, because the other ones, I've got the Reebok ones, they're huge, like dressing gowns, and they're just a bit rubbish, really. This was the first time they made them when they actually fit you. At least in the UK, because we're pretty limited to what we can get. So I'm not a Jags fan, but I guess they were the adopted team, and I just don't watch it anymore now because it takes about a week to watch an NFL game. So I just don't pay any attention to it. I started watching college football a little bit. College football's really good because it's faster, less ads and all that kind of thing. But it's really difficult to get in the UK to watch college football. There's only one channel where you can get it, and you've got to pay for it and all this kind of stuff. So I kind of just fell out of love with it a little bit. Did you used to play? You look like somebody who used to play football.
I played Little League, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was a wide receiver. I wasn't very good at that time. Now I'm actually pretty fair quarterback now, but I've never really gotten the chance to play it for real. But yeah, I'm more of a basketball, baseball guy. So I was a pitcher in baseball and a point guard in basketball. That's more of my comfort zone, but I love football. I'm a Seahawks fan. So when I live in Utah, which is in between a bunch of different NFL teams like the Denver Broncos, the Seahawks, the 49ers. So you kind of just have to pick somebody. So I'm a Seahawks fan and had a couple good years there, but it's been a little bit sad recently.
I used to enjoy the strategy of it, and I used to enjoy playing it much more than I enjoyed watching it, because there just isn't another sport quite like football. Real football, not soccer. It's
yeah,
very strategic. Each player does a different thing. It's like a team of soldiers rather than watching a football game. And when I used to be learning all the plays and stuff like that, it's crazy. And then when you look at NFL playbooks as well, they are insane. They are just another level of what they have to learn. A lot of people don't appreciate that because it's just 11 men running around on a field smashing each other. But it is actually like insanely complicated.
It is, yeah. I mean, I couldn't do it. Basketball's a lot easier, honestly. It's a lot easier. You do run around and just kind of shoot. That's pretty much it. So that's more my jam. I'm not smart enough to be like a pro quarterback or anything like that, but definitely mad respect for that. But I am curious though, what you do watch then, not even sports wise, just like in general over there in the UK. What are your go-to shows?
I guess whatever's on Netflix. I tend to watch, 30 minutes, an hour of TV every couple of days. So it's whatever's on Netflix. I've just finished watching Superstore, which is on Netflix in the UK at the minute. That's pretty funny. And I just tend to pick a TV show and watch it. I've just watched the US Office, which is sometimes better than the UK, sometimes not better than the UK version. I just kind of watch all sorts of stuff. I don't tend to watch much sport anymore. I watch UFC sometimes because I play jiu-jitsu now. But in terms of actual TV shows, it's usually comedies or something like that. So Superstore or old stuff like Blackadder or Monty Python and all these kind of things that you probably don't watch in the US or you've never heard of.
I've watched Monty Python.
Have you watched Blackadder?
No.
You need to watch Blackadder. You'd love it. It's brilliant. Okay. Especially if you like Monty Python, as you called it. You'd love Blackadder.
You know what? Just because my accent's different than yours doesn't mean that it's wrong. Okay.
It does. It does. I want to return to Threads for a second because I really struggle. Yeah. I really struggle with Threads, Twitter Threads, and I've got a friend on Twitter, Tom Hurst, who keeps telling me the only way to grow on Twitter is with Threads. The only way to grow on with Twitter is Threads, and he's got some experience of this. He was on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and a similar thing happened to him. He was probably about the same amount of followers that I'm at now, and he wrote a Twitter thread pricing freelance projects that like the entire internet has seen this at this point in time, like to thousands of retweets and all kinds of stuff, millions of impressions. And he went from 4,000 followers to, I think it was 8,000 or 9,000 followers overnight. So he added 3,000 or 4,000 followers overnight. And ever since then, he said, the only way to grow on Twitter is with threads. And you know what? I keep trying to write threads, but I'm just rubbish at them. I wrote a thread the other day, kind of taking a little bit of what Tom Hurst did on one of his, where I've just launched the Magic Visual Book, all the things that I've learned. Didn't really do that well at all. So you've been writing quite a few lately. What's the kind of things that you've learned that is going to help a numbskull like me to actually be able to write a decent Twitter thread?
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. Like I never like doing them, but I just kind of committed to doing it because I want to start improving my own traffic, my own, like Copy AI is top of funnel pushing to my profile. And so there are a couple of different reasons that I've really wanted to push this and give it another try. And so we've been talking about this internally at Copy AI, like writing threads. And obviously we have tools that can help with a lot of that stuff. I don't personally like use the generation tools to write my tweets or anything like that, but it's really good for ideas. So I'll always just kind of like throw some general ideas into Copy AI and see if I can get a bigger list. So maybe I can extrapolate a little bit, and that's a helpful way to start out. But when you really get into writing out the thread, the first line and the second line, obviously the first line is like the most important thing in the entire thread. And if it sucks and it's not interesting, then you're just not going to get anybody that cares. It's a fine line. From what I've seen, some of the bigger accounts are able to do very specific topics, like really, really niched down subjects where they're talking about like, like Nick Huber talks about storage units and like how to turn owning storage units into a success. It's the most boring thing on the planet, but he can make threads that are really specific because he has a bigger audience and people trust him. And so that'll get retweeted and everybody likes that stuff and whatever. But if you're just starting out, honestly, more relatable is probably going to do better. The more you should have really specific examples, but the overall topic probably needs to be something fairly general. So like marketing as opposed to digital marketing in 2021 for X, Y, and Z businesses doing X tack. Like you can get really specific with that, but it's probably more likely that you're going to really answer questions that people care about on a general basis when you're first starting. And then over time, as people become to know you for that specific thing, you can get more and more specific with your subject matter. So for me, I've been trying to just answer basic questions that would be super helpful for people. So I've created a lot of Twitter-based content. Like here are the best people that write threads on Twitter that you can check out. I made a list of them. Here are tips for like why I think I grew on Twitter the way that I did over the past year. There's like nothing concrete in there. It's just all based on my opinion, my experiences that I've seen. So that stuff's worked pretty well. But honestly, the thing that I've noticed that's worked the best is just having a very copy paste format that's really consistent. So for me, usually that means that every single thread, the threads that I'll never read are the ones that are just a blog post disguising as a thread where there's no clear format within them. And so it's just a run-on sentence basically through 30 different tweets. I can't discern how I'm supposed to skim that. And the fact of the matter is that even on Twitter, people are only skimming. They're not actually reading. And so you need to optimize for that as much as humanly possible. So the way that I've found working for me is I'll have a really strong hook, a really strong intro after the hook. So it's basically the first tweet is 2 sentences max leading into the tweets. And then the thread, every single tweet will be a full section of the thread. And if it doesn't fit in one tweet, I added it down so that it can, because I want every single tweet to be its own little package and to clearly look like the same format repeated over time. So I'll have I had one that was 50 tools that you should use if you're an indie hacker type of thing. And I listed out 50 tools. I had the name, the website, what the tool does, and how I actually use it. Those were the 4 things that I introduced in every single tweet. And it was the exact same format every time. So then it was very easy for people to skim and they didn't have to read it to actually like it. And then you always obviously end with a call to action, and you have to ask people to retweet it. So like the retweet is the biggest thing for the thread. If you can get retweets, you'll just it'll snowball. Obviously, it's not groundbreaking. We know that with any tweet, but with threads especially, people will blindly retweet threads just because they think that it's higher quality content. So if they see more and more people retweeting it, you'll start seeing a lot of people retweet that stuff. But you do have to ask them to do that. You can't just expect them to know what to do, because people honestly, like, you would think that being on Twitter, they would understand what you want them to do, but they really don't. Like, you do have to ask them. If you want likes on a tweet, just ask for likes. Seriously. If you want retweets on a thread, at the end of it, just ask for a retweet and tell people that it makes a big difference, because it does. That's the simplest way that I can do that call to action at the very end. But that's basically the general formula. I'm still refining it for myself, but I think 95% of it is probably just finding the right topic that is going to be relevant to somebody. And then the rest of it is kind of formatting it. But I don't know if that's helpful.
No, yeah, that's really helpful. One other thing I found that I want to add to it that I've just written about recently, actually, is this idea of what somebody's going to do with the thing that you're making. And I've got, I don't mean to keep shilling the new ebook that I've written, The Magic Visual, but I'm gonna, because it's my podcast. I've got a chapter in there that actually talks about this, about how to get somebody to share something, and what you've got to do. And this works for threads as well, although I can't crack it because I just can't crack the topic, is that you need to either make somebody feel clever when they share something, which gives them a reason to share it because it makes them look clever by them sharing it, or you've got to make them look funny because they'll share it because it makes them look funny, or it's got to be useful in some way. Basically, the only reason people retweet things most of the time on Twitter is because they're getting something out of it as well, and it basically enhances their status by sharing it. That helped me to think a lot about visuals, and I've been trying to use the same thing for threads, but I think maybe one of the things that I'm missing is the topic. I think I do a lot of the things that you're talking about with the threads, but maybe it's the topic that I'm getting slightly wrong on some of them. And I think also maybe there's an element of timing as well, isn't there? If you post it at a certain time, sometimes it just snowballs. And I think there's also that element of, if you get those first 10 retweets, the next 100 or whatever is much easier. But if in the initial couple of minutes when you post the thread, you don't get anything with the thread that I just posted recently, it just dies, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about threads, I think that Twitter looks at them algorithmically so much different than a punchy tweet. When I'm looking at the metrics of my threads, so every single one of the threads that I posted, within the first few minutes, it's got 10 to 20 likes, which is okay. It's kind of like what I would expect from a normal tweet anyway. There's no difference really. What I do notice though is that the shelf life of a thread is a lot longer than a regular tweet is, unless that regular tweet just really takes off, and then it can go for days and even weeks. But for threads, I'm not even seeing great success the day of posting. Where I'm seeing success is, so my time, I'm in mountain time in the US. So for you, we're 5 hours apart. Is that right?
Yeah, it's 7 p.m. here right now.
Oh, okay. So
7:30 p.m.
Yeah, so we're actually 7 hours apart. Okay,
wow.
So when I'm posting this stuff, you're asleep. But when you wake up, I'm asleep, and that's when like the other half of the audience starts kicking in, and I really just get this second wave of engagement when people in the UK, people in Europe in general, India, Japan, China, wherever, like when these people are starting to see the content the day after, that's when I'm starting to see the biggest uptick. So like a life cycle for one of my threads recently is I'll post it around 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. my time. And then by the end of the night, maybe it has 100 likes. And then when I wake up, it has 500 likes. That's what I've been seeing a lot recently. And so maybe that could very well just be my audience and, people deciding to engage at that time, or time zones or whatever, like wherever people are at, being more engaged in certain countries, whatever. But you need to be patient with the threads as well, because there is definitely a longer life cycle to it. Another thing that has been really interesting is that weekends have been performing pretty well for me for these threads, which is not something that you would think. But the competition's a lot less on a Saturday and a Sunday. And if you put your content out there and it's pretty good, it actually, even though initially might not get as much engagement, I've been really, really surprised by how this stuff has been performing on Saturdays and Sundays recently. So I would test that out as well. Just wherever you can maybe stand out or be posting content when or where other people are not, is it's always a good bet to try it and test it out. But yeah, I think like you're mentioning, the topic is probably the most important thing. And I wish that I had some kind of secret sauce for that. Like I just have a running Notion doc of a billion ideas, most of which get rejected. And even the ones that I do think are good one day, the next day I usually don't think they're good anymore. And so a lot of those don't end up getting written, but it does help me just open up my process a little bit to a bunch of different ideas. Ultimately, though, I've just asked people what they want me to write about, and a lot of people have given me some really good ideas. So when people DM me and they want to, get my advice on something, I'm happy to help out. And then at the end, I'll just be like, by the way, what kind of stuff would be helpful for me to write about for you? And they'll tell you, give you some good ideas. And you can't necessarily take that at face value and just say, okay, I'm going to write a thread on that. But if the stars align and you really do think that's a good topic, then why not? One final thing that I'll mention here strategically is using actual keywords or topic keywords in your threads. So in Twitter, if you go to your settings, you can actually see topics, and there aren't that many there, but I'm following a bunch of different topics like online education, marketing, startups, small business, viral tweets, like a few different things. You can actually use those as keywords in your tweets. And if they start picking up a little bit of steam, they'll actually get featured in those topics. Not a ton of people follow them, but enough follow them that it can give you a really decent boost. If you do, for example, go after like design and you actually start taking off in that topic space, you can actually do some pretty good stuff for that tweet and boost your engagement pretty considerably. So being keyword driven kind of pays off on Twitter a little bit, but there are only certain keywords under suggested topics that are actually available that it'll do this for. So you can't just treat it like SEO. It's not the same thing.
How many? So you're writing the threads at the minute. How many supporting tweets would you typically write in there? Do you have a set limit every day? So for me, the limit is like 10 tweets that I have queued up every day. Is there a limit, kind of tweets that you try to write every day, or is it more organic than that?
Yeah, like I've mentioned this a bunch on other podcasts too, but people would be really disappointed to see my strategy behind Twitter because there is none. It's like I just try to have a really optimized bio and have as few words as possible in there so that people can get the point, but not feel like I'm being long-winded in my bio. That's like the most important thing that I can do top of funnel wise to prepare myself there. And then actually posting the content, I am very spontaneous and usually will just post things right as they come to me. I'll try to format them and put them out, but that's very much how it happens. With threads, I usually honestly write them same day, but I schedule them out a couple hours so that it can be in the afternoon just because I've been liking how that's performing for me. But I'm not like huge into scheduling unless I want to schedule something for the morning when I'm going to be asleep. And I do that pretty often as well, but it's usually very spur of the moment. I don't have a master plan. I don't have a set amount of tweets that I am going to put out every single day. And all my threads are totally different too. So I've sent out threads that have like 75 tweets in them. And then I've sent out threads that have 4 or 5 tweets in them. And the longer ones do better, but it is what it is. Like I don't really have a set way of doing things necessarily because I think I've tried to do that and I just didn't follow it. So I need to just be real with myself and say, what's the maximum amount that I'm actually going to get done? And that's the new goal. And every day that looks a little bit different. So I have a goal to publish a thread every day for the next 30 days. I've already failed twice on that, but I'll get back up today. And that's the goal because I think that I can do that. And I have been for the most part doing that. And it is hard to write threads every single day. So if I miss a couple of times, that's more the way I'm approaching it. Cause I'm very much the type of person that I commit to things too early and then I don't do them unless I'm like super serious about it. And so for this, I just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, I think for me, the reason I write 10 tweets per day isn't really for the algorithm anymore, because I don't need to write 10 tweets per day, but I just enjoy the ritual, and it is my little ritual every day. You know, I talk about consistency and things a lot, and it's just my ritual of getting to sit down, write something, practice writing to a certain point, and also kind of I've built a rod for my own back really as well by saying I write 10 tweets per day. I continue doing it for who knows how long. So even if they aren't good, I've actually like made a rod for my own back that I should write 10 tweets per day. Mm-hmm. So it isn't, for me, it isn't really about the algorithm, and that's not the reason I write them anymore. It's one, for the writing practice, but also on another level, it's for the ideas too, because each tweet, and I think maybe this is something we can talk about. I think this is something that a lot of people get wrong. Each tweet is an idea. It's just the kernel of something else. And sometimes that tweet turns into another tweet. Sometimes it turns into 5 different tweets. Sometimes it turns into a thread. Sometimes a YouTube video or a podcast or an email. But each tweet that I write is like a notebook or a kernel of a new idea. I guess to some extent we're talking about, you know, repurposing things, but I think that's too basic to say it's repurposing things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's more extrapolation than it is repurposing. Even like, I totally get what you're saying. When I put out a thread recently that was about formatting, tweet formats, and different ways that you can maybe stand out in the timeline a little bit more. And the number one thing that I put in there, the very first point, was if you want great threads, look back at your best performing tweets and see if they can be expanded on. That's easy, low-hanging fruit, best way to do it. So if you have a tweet, if you got a tweet that had 5,000 likes and people clearly liked it, it resonated, can you expand it? Can you make that something different? Because that tweet was probably 3, 4, 5 months ago or longer.
Yeah.
And so people have already forgotten. You know, if you have, I don't know, I've got 18,000 followers right now. Not all of them see my every single tweet. Like almost none of them see every single tweet that I put out. So if I did something 3 months ago, first off, I had maybe 8K 3 months ago. So there are a lot of new people in there. So you can bring new ideas to the table. You can even just not even retweet stuff that you did in the past, but just tweet it again as its own new tweet and just try to modify it. Like there are all kinds of ways you can do that. But if you're looking for great thread ideas, just look at your best tweets ever and see if you can expand on it. Add more bullet points to it, expand on the idea, tell a story, give a strategy, like however you want to build on that. That's by far the easiest way to come up with great thread ideas, because you don't have to hope that the idea is going to work. You already have proof that the root idea hit a nerve a little bit, and then you can just try to make it better. So that's huge. But then even going beyond that, like you're saying, every single tweet, because the character limit is so minimal, you can only get to a small portion of an idea. And so, you know, I've often thought about this, like I should really try to make my days more themed. Like each tweet should be a little bit more connected to the other than it currently is. Cause right now I'll talk about like community, and then I'll talk about paid advertising, and then I'll talk about productivity in the same day. And those are buckets that I'm not really willing to steer away from. Like I will talk about different areas of marketing and productivity and remote work and things like that. But it might be better to try to batch ideas closer to each other so that they feed off of each other. And then if you notice, oh, that was actually a pretty good day, then you can start thinking, well, this overall area or topic seems to be pretty good for my audience. Maybe I'll start creating more and more content for that and have like Productivity Tuesdays. And you don't have to necessarily call that out, but that can be what your content calendar is for you, and you have more theme based. So I'm trying to get to a place where it's more like that, but at the same time, my posting is so spontaneous that I know it's not going to get done just because I write that down. Like it's going to really have to be over time, just like building the muscle and doing it.
I actually tried that for a bit I still use Hype Fury, but when I first started using Hype Fury and I first started getting serious, I used to write a tweet at 9 a.m. in my time, say, today's theme is blah, blah. If you've got any questions about this today, hit me up and I'll answer them. And then every single tweet, which would have been 9 other tweets, all spoke about that topic. And now thinking back, that would have been a really easy way to make a thread as well in a few weeks' time or something, because I was talking about that thing. And I maybe did it for a couple of weeks. I did get quite good interaction on it, but it takes a hell of a lot of planning. Even though I'm writing 10 tweets, I haven't written my 10 tweets for today, well, for tomorrow. So I'm going to hurry them out after I've done this podcast. That's enough planning. There's no way I could also add another level onto that, making a schedule of what I'm going to talk about. So let's think of 7 topics for a week. And then, oh man, just trying to think about that's already blowing my mind. So it's a good idea. But
you have to like balance between things that you're actually going to get done and good ideas, because they're not the same thing. Like you can have a million good ideas and you can even be good at documenting that stuff, but that doesn't mean that you should do all that stuff. You have to limit yourself to what you'll actually do. And that's what I'm really realizing lately. Within the past year, it's been a huge lesson for me, is stop committing or like trying to do things that are really ambitious, but you just know you're going to lose interest in 2 weeks, or you're not going to stick with this. Do the maximum that you know that you'll do. And then if you feel like along the way, if you're actually building that muscle a few weeks in and you could do more, then you can add on there conservatively. But I think it's a better approach than just saying, all right, I'm going to have themed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is going to be each have their own theme. I'm going to plan meticulously every single day. I'm going to plan for 2 hours and write everything out. Like it's probably too much to ask. So more important than that is just publishing something and then learning along the way.
Yeah. So speaking of doing a lot of things and doing less, you've just started Float, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a hypocrite. Yeah.
Tell me about it. I kind of get it. So I know it's Notion, courses on Notion, but what else is there to say about it?
Yeah. So when I've been trying to create free courses for people for the past few months. And one thing that I've noticed is all the places that let you do it for free will take everything from you, and the content's not really yours, and the platform isn't that pretty, and it's not that great to use. And there aren't really even that many of those platforms anyway. More common is that you're going to end up paying for an online course platform to host everything and to build a course out. And it's like minimum $40 a month, or, I don't know what it is, how many pounds it is, but it's expensive. Like $40 a month, if you're trying to give something away for free, for example, like I've been doing, it's really hard to justify paying that amount of money for something that you're never going to charge for. And so and then there are also small creators that want to charge for their courses, but just getting started on a platform that's costing them $40 a month when they may not be spending any other money on tech tools, it can be a lot to ask. So I started thinking of ways that we could make this a little bit easier and more affordable. And honestly, it was just basically building a solution for myself at that time, because I was writing all my course notes out in Notion for my course it's called How to Build a High Impact Landing Page. And I made all my notes, all the formatting, all the embeds were just in Notion. And then I had to copy and paste over to a paid platform that didn't do anything different. It just made it into a course and let me get paid for it or get email subscribers for it. So I'm like, I'm already taking all the notes. I've already got the full course here. And there are already website builders that you can use to translate your Notion docs into a full website. But why am I not able to gate content, collect email subscribers? Why am I not able to translate this into an actual course so it looks like a course, so I can mark my progress, have tabs on where I've at, what lessons I've taken, what I haven't taken, give feedback to the instructor? There should be a way to do that in the place that I'm already working and doing all the work. So that's really where the idea stemmed from. And so Float will take all your Notion docs, well, not all your Notion docs. So you have to give permissions, obviously, and set it up through a specific page. But if I have a Notion doc that has my full online course already in there, it will just take it and give me all the capabilities to make it a fully operational online course instantly. So right now we are I'm doing a demo internally with my co-founder today, actually, to just test it out on one of my courses and make sure everything's functioning properly. And then we'll start inviting a couple more people in to test it out, try to break things, see what works and what doesn't work. And then after that, we'll start releasing it to our waitlist. So it's coming soon. Within the next couple of weeks, people will get their hands on it. But it's been so warmly received. Like there's so many partnerships lining up from really cool people in the Notion community, in the writing community, and the online course community. There are a lot of people that are lining up to chat with me about it and get demos, and it's really exciting. And then we sold a couple of lifetime deals. So without even launching, we've already got $3,000 in the bank to cover all of our expenses and stuff. So it's been a pretty cool project so far, but haven't even launched yet, and excited to see where it goes.
I'm really interested in it because I feel the same way. I'm trying to, so I've got the daily visual community at the minute, and I'm trying to figure out a way to host a course somewhere. At the minute, I'm paying for Teachable. It was the only thing I could really find that I kind of liked. I tried a couple of other things out, like a WordPress thing called LearnDash, really complicated. And I'm quite capable with complex stuff. I can build websites and things, but there's just an element you just want that. I just want it to get out of the way. I just want to make the course. I'm not bothered about the technical stuff. I just want a solution. So I went to Teachable. But yeah, I think that I'm pretty sure that's 30, 35, or it might even be £40. I can't remember now. But I'm paying for that every month right now, and I don't have a released course. So every month it's kind of just annoying me. You know, it's sticking in my craw a little bit that I'm paying it, and I still haven't released the course. And it feels a little bit overblown for the kind of thing that I want to do. So where Float sits is kind of perfect for me. I'm really excited actually to see what happens with it, because I haven't found anything. I have actually got some courses in Notion already. I'm actually using Notion for the daily visual community right now. So there's 2 courses in there, 2 design courses. And I've actually cobbled them together myself because there's no other way to do it, really. And I like the fact that you can just drop the videos into Notion, and they're hosted on Amazon AWS, but they're hosted in Notion. I don't have to pay for those things. That was another thing I was looking for, a way to kind of keep them private somehow without having to pay for an extra service. That isn't easy either. You've got to look at Vimeo, and Vimeo's really expensive, and YouTube doesn't really do it properly. And yeah, it is a bit of a nightmare. I think you've picked a good little niche there.
Yeah, it's actually been a bigger niche than I even thought it was, because I thought it was going to be, all right, we got the Notion niche, and then we've got online course niche. If you combine those together and then filter down even another level, it's like, I thought it was going to be a really small subset of people that wanted this. But I've had, I won't drop any names in here, but I've had some really cool people DM me about like, hey, can I get a demo for this? People that would have never reached out to me before building this specific thing. And so I've had a lot of really positive feedback and a lot of validation from people in the Notion community. The cool thing is too, so like Float starts at $15 a month instead of $40. And that's the only plan that exists right now. The cool thing though, is that since all your notes are already in Notion, if you've basically built out your course how you want it to be in Notion, we have a 10-day free trial. So in theory, you could just literally launch the course the same day you start your free trial and have 10 days free of basically gathering payments and building your email list and getting people into the course right away. Whereas with other courses, because you're copy and pasting over, you're usually going to have to do more work to just port everything over for a few days or even a couple weeks, and then you can launch it. And then by the time you launch it, the free trial is over. So I think it's going to be really cool to just be able to like go into a free trial, getting full access to do whatever you want in this thing and already have it live day one, because it's that easy. And then obviously it's an MVP right now. So when you get in there, it's going to be bare minimum stuff, what you would expect, like progress markers and formatting and things like that. We're setting up a landing page builder so you can collect emails that go directly in there. So we'll have that stuff ready for the MVP, but there's so much more that can be built on top of this. And how cool would it be if it goes beyond Notion and we're able to do this for Google Docs, we're able to do this for Roam Research, we're able to do this for all these other platforms. Like if we can just basically take your Evernote or whatever, like any note taking app that you have, and make that into a course and reduce that friction, anybody can create a course. And for $15 a month, and we're also willing to, like, for people where even that is not reasonable, I'll take a case by case basis with people and try to work on something with you so that you can get access to it. Because I just want more people creating stuff, and it shouldn't be so complex and take so long and be so expensive just to put ideas out into the world. Like the rest of the internet is free. I don't understand why online courses are so, like, I get charging heavy prices for them if they're super valuable, but why do I have to pay so much to host them to begin with? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's a little bit like YouTube could probably implement it tomorrow, and there's people who's got courses on YouTube, but they just have to use a YouTube playlist, and then there isn't really any other thing out there. It reminds me a little bit of SEO. Every tool in SEO is ridiculously expensive. Nobody is just giving you a tool for, I don't know, $5 a month. Everything's $100 a month or $200 a month or something. There's just no middle ground in it, is there? And I think you're right as well. There's a lot of people making courses. You almost, right now, you can't build an audience by making a course because it's just costs too much, and there's just no easy way to put a course together that I think actually feels course-like, that without having to pay 40 or 50, 60, 70, 80, $100. It's
Yeah, and I think, like, for me, initially what I thought was that the price point was the biggest value proposition for this. I actually think it's the time cost savings.
Yeah,
is the true value proposition, because again, whenever I've tried to create a course in like Podia or any of these other platforms, they're really good. Like, none of these platforms are bad. They all do a good job at what they do. It's just a matter of, does everybody really need all this? Does everybody need every feature and these complex things, or can we make this just really quick and easy for them? And so if somebody's already in Notion, just give us the link. That's it. Like, give us the link to that page, and we will make it into a course automatically for you. It's a no-brainer when you are able to do that, because then all the formatting and editing is like the killer of creativity for me. If I could be writing all day, and then the second that I just have to backspace and redo something, it's done. It's over with. And so the more that I can just stay in a flow and have my thing done and then send it, and somebody else can do the editing and formatting for me, like, that's a dream for me. And so that's how, like, even if this flops, I'm going to be able to use it. And that's awesome for me. So now I've got a tool that I can use forever for that, and put out more free courses and not feel like I have to charge money all the time. Like, sometimes I will, but sometimes I just want to put free stuff out there. And when I want to do that, I don't have to feel like, wow, this is super not worth it because I'm spending $50 a month on this platform, because now I'll only be spending like $15 a month on the platform. Well, and I'm building it so I don't have to spend $15 a month on it. I could spend $0 on it.
Yeah. I think the closest that's coming to it probably is Gumroad. You can make a course on Gumroad, but it's just videos. You can't even do text and videos yet. It's probably something that they're going to do at some point. But the other thing with Gumroad is that I think you can only make one free product before you have to pay $10 a month. So even on the Gumroad front as well, there isn't a thing that's easy to make free stuff. Nobody wants you to make free stuff, but it is a good way to grow an audience. And if you don't need the money, like when I first started building my Twitter following and started doing all this stuff online, and still today, I don't really do it for the money because I've got a full-time job as a designer and an agency owner and things like that. So I just want to put things out there to help people or make people laugh or whatever. And it's hard to find tools that align with that sometimes.
For sure. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm aware of the time. You said you got eight minutes.
I do. I have 8 minutes. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Well, I want to ask you one more question before you go then.
Yeah, ask away.
So, have you ever worked for yourself before I ask this?
Yeah. I've done a lot of consulting. I had a stretch where I was only doing consulting full time.
Because you've talked a lot on Twitter before about you know, everybody on Twitter talks about 9 to 5 being the devil and things like that, and working for somebody being the devil. I think it's interesting that you look at it from the other point of view, that, you know, it's actually good to work for a good company. And I think that's a message that's sometimes lost on Twitter. People are always rushing to start a startup now, but even now you're working for Copy AI and you're starting Float as like a spare time type thing. I think we somehow collectively need to get that message out a bit easier.
Yeah. I mean, I've always said that I think there are a lot of different ways to be an entrepreneur, and I've always known that I am one. I've always known that I'm very independent and that I wanted to do my own stuff, but there are a bunch of different ways that you can do that. So working for a company, if you're going into it thinking I'm just making somebody else money, then yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. And you're probably not going to be super happy at your job. But if you see the true value of, first off, don't take jobs where you don't see true value and where you don't think that you'll be valued and that you won't grow. But once you get into a job where you kind of hit that criteria, you really, I believe you should approach it like you're the entrepreneur of that role. You're the CEO of whatever that role is, and you own it. And if you have extreme accountability for that, that's the same thing as starting your own thing, because you'll start really thinking about how to start things from scratch, what needs to be improved. You'll start thinking a little bit more like a founder. That's one path of being an entrepreneur where you don't actually start your own thing. And so right now I am working at Copy AI. Obviously I'm a CMO there. And so I feel a little bit more connected and kind of like a secondary founder almost, just because I'm going through this with the full team right now. It's so early on, but I've worked for big companies before and I've had that same mentality. Like you can be an entrepreneur and work for a company. It just depends on how you look at it. But I've always had side projects too. I've never just been able to do one thing and that's it. I need that creative outlet to try new things. And that's what's gotten me to this point. So there are a lot of people in the traditional companies that are like, I don't get side hustles. It just distracts you from your work. It makes you worse at your job. It's like, man, you have truly never done that for yourself then, because nothing will make you grow quicker than building something on your own, especially if it's on the side and you're having to hustle every little waking second you have outside of work to do that thing. Nothing will teach you better and faster than that experience. So I think that's the huge message that gets lost, is like, work for companies if that's what you want to do. And I would recommend, probably working for at least one company in your lifetime before you go start your own thing, because you'll just be at an advantage and you can ask a lot of questions and rely on other people's experience first and then go do your own thing. But that's just me. That's the path that I've taken. I've always known that I wanted to start my own thing. So I've done that a bunch of times. I just don't think that has to be the only thing that you do. And you don't only have to be a founder of your own company to be an entrepreneur.
Beautiful. I've started outro music there, so you can go in less than 50 seconds. Blake, it's been long overdue. Even though I was ribbing you at the beginning, it's awesome to actually finally talk on a podcast. We've not actually sat down and ever had a talk this long, even now. So yeah, it's been fun, and let's do it again. You've got 20 seconds if you want to plug something or say something or insult me or whatever you want.
So follow my arch nemesis, Craig Burgess. And you can follow me too if you want to at Hey Blake on Twitter. Check out copy.ai if you just want to create more content. There's a tool in there for pretty much anything that you want to do. And I've got Float coming out soon. So that's at float.so that you can check that out and build your own course, 10-day free trial, and then $15 a month.
Perfect timing.